I'd like to talk to you about an accessibility performance that I attended at the Sydney Opera House on the 2nd of May 2026. So last year in 2025, I posted a YouTube video about my experience attending a concert at the Sydney Opera House. And the staff at the Opera House saw this video and reached out to me and told me about a performance that they were having and invited me along. So Mum and I attended a screening of Windcatcher released in 2024 about an Indigenous boy. What was unique about this screening was that it was audio described. Now, I've never viewed an audio described performance of anything, not even on TV, nothing. I've never used it. I've never required it. But I thought, this will be interesting to attend. I'd like to know what it's about. And what was really unique as well about this screening was that it wasn't just each individual person wearing a headphone set, if they required it. It was the entire theatre. It was in the Playhouse Theatre, in the western foyer of the Sydney Opera House, down on ground level. So it was the entire performance. So that was really interesting. At first it was a little bit weird, hearing these extra bits of information that really, you didn't really need if you could see. But after 30 seconds or a minute or so, it just became part of the experience, and it was really lovely. What I will say that I think every single filmmaker in the world needs to do is, not only were they audio describing the film, they were reading off the list of credits at the end. And I believe that this should be mandated for every film known to man, or at least from now on. Because how many times have you watched a film, particularly on TV, and they've sped up the credits? And if it's a film you haven't seen yet, or a film you haven't seen for a long time, you want to remind yourself, who was that actor? You don't necessarily want to pull out your phone and Google it, because that takes more time if you can just read the screen. But most of the time you can't, because it's either, the reflection of the white font on the background, it's glary, it's either going too fast, or for some reason you might be further away from your TV at the time. It would be so much easier and more accessible to everybody if they just read out the credits and made that part of the viewing, instead of playing promo trailers for another show after as well on TV, which I absolutely hate, but that's another video or another topic entirely. But the Sydney Opera House did one extra thing. So last year I was made aware of the courtesy bus. Today, and I have a feeling this was only because it was an accessibility designated performance, but they had a buggy from the entryway up to the Opera House. We didn't get it up there because I wasn't sure if it was part of the Opera House, but we got it back. And the guys running that were fantastic. When we stopped, one of the guys got Mum's walker off, turned it around for it, put it back up so it was facing the right way for her, and guided her down. They didn't just leave her trying to get down the ramp on her own. So that was thumbs up. The other thing was that because it was all planned and they knew I was coming by name, I was approached by somebody as we were walking up to the Opera House in an orange shirt, same orange shirt, saying, "Are you Penny?" And I said, "Yes." She says, "Great, come with me. I'll show you where you need to go." She took me around to the Playhouse Theatre where the performance was going to be. We were then met by a lady from Guide Dogs New South Wales, ACT, who coincidentally I met 4 days earlier at the International Guide Dogs Day in Martin Place. So it was so lovely to have a chat with her, follow up on our conversation, and that was really nice. And she went with us, and we were guided round backstage to go in the front of the theatre because of Mum and her walker, which is easier than having to go down from the top all the way down 17 rows of stairs. And then we were led back out, and then the same lady that met us at the beginning took us out, got us on the buggy, and went back up the road. And then when we got off, the guys said to me, do you know where you're going? Do you need some assistance? Like, do you need some directions? And I said, no, it's okay. We're just going to go and get that taxi up the road. So yeah, it was fantastic. What I would love to know, and I'd love Sydney Opera House to think about this, that yes, you've got an accessibility team, which I wasn't aware of until I got an email yesterday. But what I would love to know is, do you provide the accessibility assistance for every performance? And can you please make it known, really easily known to people about that accessibility team? Because I wasn't aware of it, and I've been going to Sydney Opera House since I was probably about 10 years old. And I'm sure you didn't have it back then, but there's things that you have now that I don't know about and that the public don't know about. And I think the more you promote and the more you say things, you know, ads in the newspaper, ads on radio, TV, whatever. If you're going to do a performance, say this performance is on for an opera, put a little slide at the end saying accessibility, you know, easily accessible or something. Contact the Opera House for more, like something to encourage people to be able to go. And I think that would be amazing. But yeah, as my first audio described film, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And yes, so a few things I think filmmakers could take note about: the credits, making that audio described for the credits, regardless whether the film is audio described or not. I think that is something that should be incorporated in filmmaking. And yeah, so we had a really lovely day